Hi, I'm Rachel, for those of you that don't know me. So, I just went through this whole thing and then realized I never hit record. So this is my second time telling the story tonight. So, I'm on here uh, because I need help. Really struggling right now. So, I want to just kind of tell you guys my story. I first off want to say, please only give if you feel God calling you to. I know times are hard for all of us. It's not just me. There's millions of us out here struggling. And I only want you to give if you feel that tug at your heart. So first off, when everything happened, I was 25. I'm 26 right now. I just had a birthday. So I just want to kind of explain it. So July 22nd of 2021, I had gastric bypass, which is a Roux-en-Y, in Carmel, Indiana. And everything went great. Surgery went great. Afterwards, you're on that liquid diet, and then you're on pureed, everything great. And then I started having trouble eating, swallowing, keeping food down. So they started doing scopes on me and stretching my esophagus. They did that a lot. I've probably had that done over, I want to say around 10 times. And so kept scoping me, couldn't find anything. I'm talking from probably a month or two after the surgery, so probably August, September time, all the way to March. In and out of the ER. Never really been to the ER before in my life. In and out. Labeled as a drug addict because they can't find anything wrong. Finally, they did a scope and found a hiatal hernia ripping through my diaphragm. So they went in and did a repair on that. And 2 days after that surgery, my face went numb right here, and like in this area, which is still numb. And so my aunt, who's a nurse, took me to the ER saying she thought I had a stroke. Sorry, the helicopter is landing. Thinking that I had a stroke. They did all the tests to make sure it wasn't that. They said I didn't have a stroke. After they ruled out that it was not a stroke, they kind of just always overlooked the numbness. So I started having weakness in my legs, having a hard time walking. Actually had to borrow a walker from family and start using that because I was having such a hard time walking. And still having a hard time eating. So March, the hiatal hernia was in March. In April, in April, in and out of the hospital, no one believed me. Finally, we got a physician's assistant, and she believed me, and it come to find out it was my gallbladder. It was severely needed to be taken out almost immediately. So went in and they took my gallbladder out and inserted a G-tube, which is a feeding tube, because I was extremely malnourished. Just to kind of give you an idea, this was in May, and I had my surgery July 22nd, 2021. I weighed 520 pounds the day of surgery. Today is August 14th, 2022, and I weighed 245 pounds. So I was losing way too fast. And I was just very malnourished with the answer of the G-tube. So I went home. A week later, I went to the ER saying that I thought the G-tube was infected, the hole that it's in, because it's an open hole, it's an open wound. And they swabbed it and did a culture. And 2 days later, called me and said, you have an infection, you need to go to the ER and have IV antibiotics administered. So I thought I was going there, and I was going to be there a couple hours to maybe a day. And I'm sorry if I start crying. I ended up being in the hospital for 18 days. And then in a rehab nursing home for 32 days. So I went there. They transferred me to Carmel, Indiana hospital, and thank God for the infectious disease doctor there, because he did his own concoction. But I had a staph infection that went into my blood. I went septic, and it actually went into my heart valves, and I almost died. And so I was on IV antibiotics. I got a PICC line, and I was on that for 6 weeks. 24-hour feedings. I'm sorry, I'm getting jumbled. Through the G tube, I was in the hospital. And so my first day at the hospital in Carmel, my legs went numb, like completely numb. I couldn't move them. I couldn't get up and walk. I couldn't even stand. They weren't listening to me. They didn't believe me. They kept trying to get me up in a lift, and I kept saying, like, I can't stand. You don't understand. And finally, they kind of started listening, started doing MRIs and of my back, thinking that it was a pinched nerve. And so then my arms started going numb. And then I kept saying that I felt like I had to pee, but I physically could not pee. And they just kept blowing it off, really, and kept doing in and out catheters. And finally, they did put a catheter in, and it was because my bladder had went paralyzed. And so then I started saying that I was having a hard time swallowing, and I couldn't even swallow water. My aunt, who was a nurse, was there, and she was like, oh my God, you have Guillain-Barré. You have every symptom of it. And if it wasn't for her, like, she's always had a special place in my heart. She's my aunt. But it's very different now, because if it was not for her, for God giving her that information, I believe that I would have died in that hospital. Fully 100% believe I would have died in that hospital. And so I'm just so thankful for her, and I have such a place in my heart for her. She genuinely saved my life. And so my mom fought with the neurologist, and he kept saying the only way to tell if it was Guillain-Barré was to do a spinal tap. Well, they had tried a spinal tap on me 3 times and couldn't get it, and he didn't want to do another one. So finally he was like, well, I'll just give her the treatment for it. And so the treatment was horrible. 5 days of IV treatment, and it was just horrible. But on the 4th day, I stood for the first time in 17 days. And it was for 5 seconds. But my God, it felt like 2 hours I was standing. And so then the next day, the 5th day, the final day of that treatment, it's actually the day I went into the rehab, I stood for 5 minutes. And I actually have a picture of the nurse and the PT that were helping me stand, and I treasure that picture. And then I went into the nursing home, and I was there for 32 days, and let me tell you, no one I love will ever go into a nursing home. I will die taking care of them before I allow that to happen. Being 25 in a nursing home was horrific, but just being in a nursing home in general is horrible. But, you get close with people, and you build bonds and relationships that will last a lifetime, and I did. I had some nurses that took amazing care of me, some CNAs that took amazing care of me, some that didn't. But it was really, really hard. I was on IV antibiotics there through the PICC line. I had feedings through the G tube there. Tried to start eating. So during all of this, my fiance of 4 years broke up with me on Mother's Day while I was in the hospital. So not only am I dealing with, the fact that I almost died, that I'm very sick, Guillain-Barré really affects your mind, so you're trying to, make sense of everything, and the person that you love and that you're gonna spend forever with decides that he can't do this anymore and he's not in love with you anymore, and he leaves. And so that is your don't work, your financial stability, your home, your dogs, the person that takes care of you, all of that gone in an instant. And I lived in Indiana at the time, so I had to have friends and family pack up my entire home, all of my stuff, and drive me to Arkansas so that I can stay with family to help take care of me. And so I've been here for 2 months now. I want to say I came here June 10th. So right at 2 months. I went in the hospital just a little bit after I got here, and my potassium was low, critically low. And so my blood pressure bottomed out and my heart started beating out of rhythm. And so they had to emergency take me back. We were in the waiting room at the ER when this happened. Stabbed me in the chest trying to get an IV. Very rough. And I was here getting potassium for a day and a half. And so then I had been okay. I had been eating really well. And then I woke up one Sunday and I just didn't feel good. My stomach was hurting really bad, just having a hard time. And I went really out of it. I just stayed in bed. I didn't really get up and do anything. I was not eating at all for probably about right at a week. And I was laying in bed and I just was like, I need to go to the hospital. I called my mom and I just said, Mom, I'm really out of it. I can't wake up. I'm very lethargic. So came to the hospital. Very weak, very nauseous, very throwing up, and just I get back. They do some tests, find out I have a severe UTI. Labs critically low. Need to be admitted for IV antibiotics again. And so I have now been in the hospital for over 2 weeks again. And I thought I was going home last Monday. And then they came in, they did the IV antibiotics and everything. Labs are still critically low. I actually am under, restriction, kind of. They wear gowns and stuff to protect me because my white blood cell count is so low. I'm very high risk for infection. And so I thought I was going home. I was really excited. And then they came in and PT evaluated me. And so they really felt like that I should go to the 2-week intensive 3-hour-a-day rehab at Big Baptist in Little Rock. And so it was my decision. It was left up to me. I want to get better. I don't want to be like this forever. So I came here because I have to relearn how to walk. The fact that I'm moving my arms is just a miracle in its own, because there was a point in time that I couldn't even do that. But this rehab is hard and tiring. And I have mental breakdowns just about every day because mentally it's exhausting. And so that's kind of the story. I'm in the hospital right now. I'm on the rehab floor. I'm working hard. I want to be better. But I will say, out of all of this, the extreme pain, the in and out of the hospital, the exhaustion, everything. The hardest thing I've had to do was yesterday. Because of all of this, my hair, I lost most of it. And so, yesterday we actually shaved it off because it was basically, sorry, gosh, get it together. It was basically gone. It was just a few little straggles. So we shaved my head, and I'm a person, I like my long hair. So my mom went and got me this because I didn't want to go downstairs without something over my head. And I have to go downstairs for rehab. And I know that it's just hair and it will come back. But it was my hair. And it's just something that really mattered to me. I know it's so stupid compared to everything else and everything that other people are going through. Losing my hair is something so stupid. I tell myself all the time, at least it's not worse. It could be so much worse. It could be something that I have to battle every day. I don't have to wake up every day and put a prosthetic on, and I'm grateful for that, because the people that do that, I give you so much props. Will I have things that I have to battle for the rest of my life because of this? Yes. But it's okay. It's gonna be okay, because God has put me through this for a reason. Something good's gonna come out of it. He's gonna bless and anoint me for some purpose. He kept me here for a reason, and I don't know what that is, but I know that he's gonna use this for his glory, and it might just take some time. So that's my story, and I hope I didn't bore you too much. And if you've made it to this point and you've watched it all and you know everything, I ask that you just take a minute and you pray. And if you feel led to give, please do. If not, if you could just share it, that would be amazing. And I ask that you say a prayer for people that are in the hospital. It's lonely. It's tiring. Just say a prayer for those that are sick and that are going through illnesses and diseases and syndromes and things that they're battling, and it's difficult, it's hard, and I just ask that you just say a little prayer for them and for us that we make it through it, and that we use it for the kingdom, and that it's used for the glory of God. So thank you guys. Thank you for listening. I love you all dearly, and I appreciate you, and God bless.